Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Hope and pray that everyone should have a wonderful journey, wandering in a 12 forest of Vrindavan and chanting attentively. So those spiritual warriors who made our journey successful today was Srikanta Ji Prabhu, Neeraj Srivastav Prabhu, Sharvatarak Prabhu, and I think I will go back to the old list that I have prepared. Krishna Prabhu, Yamuna Sundari Mataji, Ivy Gautam Mataji, Subra Devidasi, Rajeshwari Priya Devidasi, Govinda Gita Devidasi, Girivardhari Prabhu, Shriya Devidasi, Sitala Priya Devidasi, Sachinandan Krishna Prabhu, Amol and Smita Panchpande, Raghav Chaitanya Prabhu, Manani Mataji, Prathamesh Prabhu, Janki Khan Prabhu, Lapanga Latika Mataji, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Bruhat Madanga Prabhu, Nadia Kumar Prabhu, Saman Prabhu, Srinivas Acharya Prabhu, Kasturi Manjari Mataji, Sistastika Devi Dasi, Manmata Anand Prabhu, Sundari Radha Mataji, Pandurang Devdas Prabhu, Damodarati Mataji, Rag Bhakti Devi Dasi, Hanuman Prabhu, Tapti Ghosh Mataji, Rohit Mishra Prabhu, Pranath Gopal Prabhu, Radhika Prem Devi Dasi, Vraj Vinod Prabhu, Anand Vinodini Mataji, Sikha and Pankaj Gupta, Devendra Krishna Prabhu, Devyan Saloni, Uttam Bhakta Prabhu, Vallabhi Mataji, Rajendra Prabhu, Abhay Joshi Prabhu, Ravi Pipilya Prabhu, Leela Manjare Devi Dasi, Vijay Krishna Prabhu, Amal Ratnam Prabhu, Gadadhar Chandra Prabhu, Tulsi Priya Devi Dasi, Jai Govinda Prabhu, Badra Bharti Mataji, Amal Nam Prabhu, Sugandharaj Prabhu and Aradhana Devidasi, Priyanka Mataji, Rukmini Priya Devidasi, Adi Gopal Prabhu, Namanan Prabhu, Prem Vinodini Mataji, Madhvi Gopi Mataji, Survangi Sricham Devidasi, Narsimha Lila Chaitanya Prabhu, Ravajeshwari Pran Devidasi, Kishore Krishna Prabhu, Govind Mohini Devidasi, Krita Laksham Prabhu, Matangi Gopi Devidasi, Manoj Kapoor Prabhu, Kamal Priya Mataji, Karunamai Mataji, Radha Charan Prabhu, Radha Vallabh Prabhu, Abhay Charan Prabhu, Sukriti Devidasi, Kamini Priya Mataji, Sankarsan and Manjari, Balram Prabhu, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, Harikatha Devidasi, Rasakida Prabhu, Anand Radhika Devidasi, Kamlesh Dingra, Karunya Murti Devidasi, Pitambar Priya Prabhu, Rajesh and Shweta, Sarmishta Sahi, Mamta Mataji, Amit Prabhu, Prem Priya Padma Mataji, Suchitra Devidasi, Sumit Prabhu. I don't know, I didn't see Purvi Parmar Mataji today. Sri Kumar Prabhu, Kanta Devidasi, Rasmi Mataji, Nishan Sharma Prabhu, Advait Prabhu, Sundari Leela Devidasi, Atulya Devidasi, Shramana Mangla Prabhu, Vandena, Parmeshwari Devidasi, Ganga Devidasi, Rati Prabhu, Chintamani Devidasi, and also Nitya Noveli Devidasi. If I have missed someone, please forgive me. Let's hear the wonderful song before we read Jaiva Dharma by Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
Shri Nandanandanaashtakam Pagedya Shraddhayanvita Tarir Bhavabdhindastaram Labhitaram Niyukmakam चन्द्रदन्तपन्थिकं नवाम्बुदाङ्गचिक्कणं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् करेण वेणुरञ्जितं गदिकरीन्द्रगञ्जितं मुकुलपीतशोभनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् त्रिभङ्गदेहसुन्दरं नखद्युतिसुधाकरम् अमूल्यरत्नभूषणं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् सुगन्धाङ्गसौरभं मुरो विराजिकौस्तुभं स्फुरक्षिवस्तलाञ्छनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् वृन्दावनसुनागरं विलासनुगवाससं सुरेन्द्रगर्वमोचनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् प्रजाङ्गनासुनायकं सदा सुखप्रदायकं जगन्मनप्रलोभनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् नमामि नन्दनन्दनम्
Thank you very much, Ishwar Krishna Prabhu, for playing a wonderful song. So we will continue reading the Jaiva Dharma. So we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the desk of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He can bestow the mercy upon all of us. So whatever we read, it may reside in our heart. So there was a question was asked. No. Yes. I detect a certain bias in this matter. Deity worship, fasting, using material things in worship. All these are part of the mundane nature. So how can they be designated as Nitya, eternal? Lahiri Mahasaya quotes, son, it took me a long time to grasp this point. So try to understand it properly. Human beings are of two kinds, ehika, worldly, and paramarthika, spiritual. Worldly men seek only temporal and corporal pleasures, including respect and material advancement. Spiritual persons are of three categories. Isanugat, those surrender to the Supreme Lord. Jnananishta, those desiring monistic knowledge with a view to emancipation. And Siddhi Kami, those aspiring for mystic powers. The Siddhi Kami are absorbed in the attempt to enjoy the fruit of karma kand. They want to obtain mystic powers and thus displace miracle by pressing into service different yoga, rites, yajna, sacrifice, and the system of Ashtanga Yoga. They take the view of an Ishwar, supreme controller, exists then, he is subservient to the laws of karma. Modern scientists belongs to this group. The Jnananishta cultivate empirical monistic philosophy, endeavoring to realize their identity with Brahman. They do not know or hardly care whether an Ishwar exists or not. Nonetheless, to suit their particular practice of sadhana, they imagine that an Ishwar exists and practice bhakti toward this imaginary form. Gradually, their endeavors are rewarded with appropriate results. At this point, their image in Ishwar is no longer useful or imperative. This bhakti to Ishwar, they believe, is transformed at the time of enlightenment into their particular definition of jnana, which is monistic identity with the impersonal Brahman. This philosophy does not accept Bhagwan or Bhakti to Bhagwan as being Nitya. The Isanugat category of spiritual men comprise those who are actually surrendered to Ishwar. This group is truly seeking spirituality. They believe in an eternal, unlimited, and personal Ishwar who has created both jivas and the material nature by his potencies. They understand that the jivas are the eternal servant of Ishwar and that an eternal mood of bhakti in respect to Bhagwan is the nitya dharma of the jiva. They appreciate that the jiva by his minute potency alone is incapable of attaining spiritual realization. They understand that karma cannot offer the jiva any eternal results and that monistic jnana simply distorts the vision of the ultimate eternal truth. However, they have firm faith that the mercy of Krishna, all spiritual perfection for the jiva, is ensured when the jiva executes bhakti to him. The first two categories of spiritualists are thus known as the follower of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, respectively. Only members of the third category can truly be called devotees. The first two categories claim to be true spiritualists, but in reality, they are not seeking the highest goal, but are worldly minded and seeking material gain. Thus, their religion's goals and practices are all ultimately naimitika. So, those who worship Durga Devi, Ganesh, Shiva, and Surya are the followers of the Jnanakanda. Their participation in the Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. Bhakti is done solely with the motive of obtaining mukti, which they define as the achievement of merging into the impersonal, undifferentiated Brahman. Those among them who are not desirous of bhakti or mukti, bhukti or mukti, when performing Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc., are factually serving the Supreme Lord Sri Vishnu through the medium of these different devas. Amongst these five deities, the Sri Murti of Sri Bhagwan, Sri Vishnu, is eternal, absolutely spiritual, and omnipotent. However, if one worships the Sri Murti of Bhagwan Sri Vishnu, not accepting it to be non-different from Bhagwan himself, then that worship is mundane and temporary. Dear son, the deity worship you conduct at home is not paramarthika because you do not acknowledge that the Sri Murti of Bhagwan is eternal and transcendental. This is probative that you are not an Isanugat surrender to Bhagwan. I hope you have been enlightened about the difference between Nitya Upasana, eternal deity worship, and Naimitika Upasana, temporary ritualistic deity worship. Devidas, quote, yes, if one worship the Srimurti but does not accept this form as eternal, such worship is material and not spiritual. Nevertheless, could this mundane ritualistic worship not offer the worshipper clue to the other higher spiritual truth? So he's asking. Lahiri Mahasaya, that may be true, but still such worship cannot be designated as the Nitya Dharma. In Vaishnava Dharma, Vaishnava worship the Lord Srimurti as his eternal form, hence their worship is Nitya Dharma. Devidas. The Srimurti forms are sculptured by man from matter. So how one may see them as absolute and eternal? Lahiri Mahasaya. The Srimurti worship of the Vaishnavas is not the same as that idea. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is positively not the Nirakar Brahman, the formless Brahman. He is Sat, Chit, Anand, Vigraha, the embodied form of the eternality, absolute knowledge, and the transcendental bliss, endowed with all potencies. This is the Srimurti of the Vaishnava worship. Initially, the form of the Bhagwan appeared in the spiritual consciousness of the devotee. And this form of Bhagwan is reflected within the devotee's mind. The Srimurti is then constructed according to this vision of the devotee and through the potency of the bhakti. Bhagwan is attracted to manifest his Satchitananda form from within the Srimurti. When the pure devotee sees the Srimurti of Bhagwan, that Srimurti unites with the transcendental form of Bhagwan that the devotee sees within his heart. The Jnani's conceptions of Srimurti worship is not the same as that of the Vaishnavas. The Jnanis believe that the Brahman concept is fused into the material form of the deity by their imaginations, and the Brahman remain in that material form only for as long as is needed for worship. Later, the form is to be considered a mere material object. Ponder upon these points deeply and try to understand the differences in these approaches to deity worship. When one, by the mercy of a genuine guru, receive initiation into the path of Vaishnavaism, then the difference result of these contrasting forms of deity worship become understandable. Devidas, I have gradually become convinced that the Vaishnavas are not fanatics, but are capable of a rational analysis and of deeply probing the science of Archanam, deity worship. On one hand, worshipping the Srimurti of Bhagwan as non-different from the Satchitananda form of the Lord, and on the other hand, extrapolating the concept of impersonal Brahman onto matter and then worshipping the deity are certainly opposing processes. Superficially, the ritual and the performance may appear to be the same. However, there is a great distinction in the faith and the conceptions of the worshippers. Further, you have removed a major doubt in my mind, and I will contemplate three subjects seriously. I am now convinced that the Jnani's mode of the deity worship is ultimately a form of deception and a denial of the eternal form of Sri Bhagavan. All is well for now. I will continue our discussion later and pray at your feet for more answers. So Devidas, Vidyaratna, and Sambhu returned to their lodging and came back to Lahiri Mahasaya later in the evening. No further discussions were possible at that time because everyone was simply engaged in the joy of singing and chanting Harina. The next day in the afternoon, Devidas and Shambhu came and joined the other Vaishnavas assembled in the courtyard of Paramhans Premdas Babaji. Devidas and Shambhu sat close to Lahiri Mahasaya. Just then, the Qazi, a head of the Muslim religion and the magistrate of Brahman Puskurini village, arrived. Standing up courteously, the Vaishnavas welcomed the Qazi heartily. In turn, the Qazi exchanged warm greetings with the Vaishnavas and joined them. Everyone sat together, expectantly waiting to hear Paramhans Premdas Babaji speak. Paramhans Premdas Babaji addressed the Qazi. You are only fortunate being a descendant of Sri Chand Qazi, who was personally favored by our Lord, Sriman Mahaprabhu. So please be merciful upon us. The Qazi replied, quote, by Sri Chaitanya's mercy, we are also the recipient of the Vaishnava's mercy. Sri Gauranga is the Lord of our hearts. We begin everything by first offering our humble obeisances to him. Lahiri Mahasaya was proficient in both Urdu and Arabic, the languages used by the Muslims. So he had deeply studied the holy Quran's Sharif, having all the 30 Sepharas, coloracies. In addition, he was well acquainted with the Sufi philosophy and has studied many of their literatures. Taking the opportunity of the Qazi's presence, he asked him, what is the Islamic concept of mukti? The Qazi replied, our equivalent of the Sanskrit term Jiva is Ruh. Ruh is found in two conditions of existence. Ruh Mujarrad, the liberated soul, and Ruh Tarkibi, the conditioned soul. Our term for Chit, spirit, is Mujarrad, and for Achit, matter, we use the term Jism, Mujarrad, Ruh, reside in the spiritual realm of Alam Misal, which is transcendental to material time and space. The Tarkibi Ruh reside in Jism, which is bound by time and space. The Tarkibi Ruh are endowed with a material mind which is full of desire and malafut ignorance. However, the Mujarrad Ruh are pure and aloof from the contamination of Jism and reside in the spiritual region known as Alam El Masa. The Ruh is purified by the flowering of Isat, spiritual love. The place to where Payagambara Sahib Payangabara, Payangabara Sahib, the prophet, was taken by Khuda, the Supreme Lord, is not influenced by Jisa. But even there, the Ruh is Banda, a servitor, and Khuda is the master. Therefore, the relationship between Banda and Khuda is eternal. To attain these states by purification is known as mukti. The Quran Sharif and the book of the Sufis have recorded all these points, but not everyone can comprehend the meanings. Since Sri Gauranga instructed Chand Kazi on these esoteric subjects, we have been able to pursue the pure devotional path and become pure devotees. Very tough to comprehend this. Haribol. Lahiri Mahasai, what is the essential lessons of the Quran Sharif? Qazi, the Quran has described behests, the personal abode of Khuda, but has not greatly detailed about the liberated spiritual life. However, we understand that life there is eternal, and in the presence of the Khuda, the Mujarrad Ruh are engrossed in sublime joy by his sight. All this has been confirmed by the teaching of Sri Gauranga Dev. Lahiri Mahasaya, does Khuda have a form? Qazi, the Quran Sharif denies that Khuda has form. However, Sri Chaitanya elucidated to Chand Kazi that this indicates that the Quran forbids a jisamani, material form of the Khuda, but does not forbid the pure Mujarradi, transcendental form. The Paigambar Sahib, the prophet, saw the aesthetic form of Khuda to the degree of his particular elevation and eligibility. However, the various rasas were veiled to him. Lahiri Mahasaya, what is the Sufi philosophy? Qazi, in their philosophy, the main concept is al-haq, I'm a Khuda. Your monastic Advaitavad philosophy and the Sufi Aswap philosophy are very similar. Lahiri Mahasaya, are you a Sufi? Qazi, no. We follow the pure devotional path. We are surrendered to Sri Gauranga. The discussion continued for some time, the Qazi family taking leave of the Vaishnavas, offering them his respect. The evening concluded with congregational chanting of the Harinam. Thus ends the fifth chapter of the Jaiva Dharma, entitled Vaidhi Bhakti is Nitya Dharma, not Naimatika Dharma. So we finished the chapter right on the time. Thank you very much for joining this morning. This subject matter is so heavy. I don't know how much, even though I read, I didn't comprehend those parts, what the Sufis and the Muslims. But I guess that at least we get the part that they are also believing that living being and the spiritualist at least. And they have some vision about the spiritualization, but not as complete as we know as a Krishna as a person. So we are little, I think, more clear vision of the Supreme Lord than them, I guess. But we will find out. So with those thoughts, always remain happy, jubilant, and totally fearless. And whoever you come across, give them a kind word that their life can also become successful. With those thoughts, I would like to offer my humble obeisances at the desk of these wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who take austerity every day to join in the morning from Houston, from India, from New Jersey, Virginia, Boston, Boise, Atlanta, College Station, San Jose, Tempe, Phoenix, Dallas, Detroit, Chicago, Naperville, Philadelphia, and Charlotte, North Carolina. So thank you very much for joining. I would like to take a leave because I'm running behind today. Yesterday, something is, I have to catch it up because of some engagement and some phone calls. So thank you very much for joining. And also, somebody named Vani has also joined. Welcome. And Rama Panda also joined today. Parsanarani also joined. Haribol. So welcome.